Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's go over another premium hard question in the database/pandas category that I just solved on my own. So again, I'm really glad that I was able to come up with my own solution to this problem without any assistance and do it relatively easily. So yep, let me show you how I did it. This one's called Tournament Winners, and yep, so basically they're asking you to find, so we have these groups and then these players and their scores. So the first player only has a first score, the second player only has a second score, and the winner in each group is the player scoring the maximum total points within the group. So there's a lot of information here. Let's go ahead and segment it by group first. So let's create a default dictive list. We're just going to map for each group how many players are inside of it. So one step at a time, IP and enumerate players group ID. So this column we're looping through, and let's use the group ID as the key to be unique, and then append the corresponding players player ID of I. Cool. Now we want to find the player that scored the maximum total points in the group. So the next thing is to get for all the players. So regardless of whether the first or second players, we don't care. We just know that first player only has a first score. Second player only has a second score. Let's call this scores. And let's make this a default dict of type integer because we just want to, for 15, 3, 15, 0. So iterate over matches. Matches, first player. So we're going to do two loops, one over first player and one over second player. And we're just going to use the player ID, and we're just going to add matches first score of I for the first players. So now we're just going to get all the scores for each player. Matches second player scores M plus equals to matches second score of I. So let's print scores. Cool. So now we have all the scores. So 15 we know scored 3 points in total. 25 2 points. Honestly, if it's 0, we don't even care about that. So let's go ahead and find the group with, so the winner in each group is the player that scored the maximum total points in the group. So okay, and then in the case of a tie, lowest player ID. So for the ones group, for example, who has the biggest score, that's going to be out of 15, 25, 30, and 45. 45 doesn't count because it's 0. So it's going to be between 15 and 30. Obviously, they both have a score of 3, and 15 is lower. So the group ID 1 and player ID 15. Cool. So let's do this for each group. There are 3 groups, 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and enumerate or iterate over our dictionary because all the groups are the key in that dictionary. And let's create a 2 result lists because we're going to have to unpack these columns from top to bottom. So now what we need to do is go over each group ID, and then basically we have to, okay, so DK is going to be all the players in that group. So then we have to iterate over, so for each player we have to get the score of that player. So 10 doesn't even exist. 10 never even played, even though it's in the players table. So that's another edge case that we have to be wary of. Let's create a list for that, and let's go through each player. And first we have to make sure, again, if they even played, if A is inside of scores. And then we also have to make sure if scores of A is not equal to 0, because in that case they score 0 points, we can't use that. In that case, then we know, hey, at least this is valid, right? And we can say cur.append. So we want to find the, so again, it says to sort by the points they scored and then the player ID. So the points they scored is scores of A, the value in the other dictionary, and then the actual player ID is just A itself. And let's go ahead and print current. Okay, let's actually also print the group ID because that's what we want in the result. Okay, cool. Nice. So now that we have, this is basically very nice because 1 and 1, 35, right? So here 33 is 40 because what we want is to sort by x of 0, which is the scores, because if we sort by x of 0 in ascending order, we know the biggest score is going to be at the very end, and then also by the player ID. So we want the lowest player ID, which we're just going to sort. So the highest is at the end here. If we did this, then the highest player ID, we want the lowest, so we do the opposite, negative x1. Okay, hope that makes sense. So let's print it, and cool. So basically that makes it easy because we know the last sublist's last element is going to be the player ID that we want, because that's how we sorted it here, right? We sorted by the scores and then by the negative player ID. Okay, this takes priority, so the scores take priority. So take priority, meaning the biggest is at the end, and then the smallest is also at the end. So now it makes it easy because we can just append k as the actual score itself, and then we can also append cur of -1, the last list's last element, as the player ID. So this is the group ID, right? And basically we just have our answer because we just create an empty data frame now and return that, and we have to populate our columns from top to bottom. So group ID, unpack it into 1, and then player ID gets unpacked into 2. So let's run this and submit it. And there you go, passes all test cases. Again, really happy that I was able to solve this question on my own without any assistance and come up with my own solution relatively easily. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.